Hey, it's your boy, Sergeant Hooked on Heroes, with a brand spanking new, with a new setup because I have a desk and I have a chair and I'm off the ground a little bit. I'm not so tall, small, down, short on the ground. I can't talk and using the outside like furniture tape. Anyway, with a review slash recap of Kamen Rider Geats, episode 18. This was another really good episode. I was really impressed overall by it, and I think I'm really digging the whole reality television vibe we're getting with the whole thing with the DGP now. Especially because this one starts straight up with confessional, like it was real world. That's a real far reference, the thing in reality television where they're talking, they're in a separate room, this is what happened. I can't believe they said that to me, kind of back and forth thing. It's with Ace, who is makes sense. It's just whatever, blah blah blah, and doesn't really want to be there, as it were. But a really good episode. So the whole setup of it is this Jamar Ball is the name of the game that we're playing in this round of the DGP. So it's all of them against Rook, who we know now is Shiro, at least his human form, what he looks like. He's taken that image for himself, and three other, whatever it is, Jamato riders with him, right? And it's all about scoring points. If you're close to the goal, you throw it in, you get 3 points. Farther back, you get 5 points, right? So, alongside that, we also see the sponsor that is supporting Keiwa. It's a frog. It's this frog statue thing with a weird audio thing where I think it's like he's speaking, it's a microphone inside the little frog and he's not really there. I don't really know what's going on. It's very weird, but I still like it. This show is very weird. We also see Jean, whatever his name is, the one that is the supporter for Ace, broing out with the Frogman while he's worried about Keiwa, and he puts out a secret mission for Keiwa, which we'll get to that in a little bit. So Keiwa has a job now. We'll talk about this in a minute. It's at a children's what's called canteen, or a little cafe for them to come there and have some food and whatever. And so that's what he's doing in between the rounds and stuff when the rounds aren't going and when he's not having to live there all the time. And so he makes some food for the rest of the contestants, right? And instantly, Madge Sparrow was like, why would you made this food? He's like, yeah. He's like, sure, you know what you're doing? He was like, well, yeah, I work at such and such canteen for kids, like I just said. And he's like, well, maybe you're making this on purpose, be bad food, so it'll mess us up and make us think, and then you're really the disaster. So a lot of things are just piling up on Keiwa being the disaster. I don't think it's going to be him. My money is on either Neon or Ace. I guess it could be possibly Madge Sparrow or Lupo. And pretty much everybody has a target on them, honestly. Has little things where it's But yeah, so that was really interesting, the little back and forth there, and the kind of just more pooping on Keiwa, which isn't terrible. It's not making him look like an idiot. It's just clearly he's the target right now because of how the show is with the whole popularity thing and all of that, which I think is cool and I dig for the most part. First round starts up. They do the little match, the ball match, Jamar ball match, and they suck really bad. They're working together decently, but Keiwa gets stopped up because he sees Rook, and Rook speaks that line again to him about I'm a firefighter. It's just in me, I guess, to save lives and blah blah blah. And at one point, sees him turn human fully, and it's like, what the hell? Because we see with Arc of Metal, Rook is able to take on the human form of Shiro, right? We saw it last episode, does it again in this with a new outfit. And the whole time, Michinaga's watching, what the fuck is going on here? Sorry, shaking the camera like that. Oh my god, I'm moving my legs. So that's really interesting and really good stuff there, and I really like how they're expanding on what the Jamato are and Arc of Metal's role in the entire thing. Buffa gets some interesting things to do in this one. He gets his driver out and puts his core into it. Doesn't work. He's trying to transform because he's getting attacked by Jamato riders. And tries to transform. It's not working. He's like, work! And he smacks it really hard and it transforms him. But it's all glitchy and, zaps him and stuff, right? Well, he gets attacked by the Jamato rider, and ends up beating it enough that he's able to weaken it and take the Jamato buckle off. He puts it on himself. And we get our new form for Buffa, which is a Jamato rider infused version of his normal suit. It looks really good. It looks really interesting, and I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Again, it still has a lot of flavor of Baron from Gaim, as far as him slowly becoming an Invis. But I still think it's really interesting and really pretty well done overall. I still really like overall what they're going for with it. So yeah, I really like that, and I think it's really cool seeing him fight and wanting to like figure out what he is and what's going on and why he's still alive, and all of that. So in between rounds, Kayla presents to Maj Sparrow his evidence about what happened, because Maj Sparrow's like, "What's going on? Were you helping the Jamato?" And he's like, "No," because he sees him. He saw him during that time, like when he stopped with the Jamato and everything. He doesn't know why he's stopping him. He actually ends up trying to take the ball from Rook, and that was when they kind of collided or whatever, and that's when Maj Sparrow started thinking that Kay was working with the Jamato and that he's the disaster. So they're talking about it. He reveals to him his theory to Maj Sparrow about how defeated riders, when they are retired, yeah, they go back to their normal lives. When they're like murdered by the Jamato, they become bait. Their ID core becomes bait to become basically they're reincarnated as a Jamato, and that's what their next life is going to be. And so he thinks that's terrifying, but also that it makes sense, and they'll keep it between the two of them, whatever. We'll see about that. So later on, the whole group comes in there, and the game master reveals this whole thing about this, what's it called, poll, that if they have to vote in this poll about who they think the disaster is. If you don't vote, you're instantly kicked out. And if whoever is voted like the most votes being the disaster, they're kicked out of it also, even if they're not the disaster. And so he reveals to everybody about what Kayla just said, and he's like, what are you saying? And he's like, yeah, or he doesn't reveal full it, but he just says basically he thinks that Kayla's working with the Jamato, trying to mess with them. And he's like, well, we just had a conversation about what I just told you. And he's like, I don't remember having any conversation with you. We also get a nice scene with Neon and Lupo working together. She's training with Lupo because Lupo's an athlete. Neon's not very good at this whole, basketball, soccer type game they're doing. And so they train a little bit, and we get some back and forth between them. That's really good and really nice to see some interaction between the riders. Clearly it's supposed to give you like a false sense of security that Lupo must not be the disaster when she very well could be. Again, they're playing this very well, and I think that it's still going to be decently surprising once we find out who the Jamato, or not Jamato, who the disaster truly is. But the second round starts up. They're doing their thing. That's right near the end of the episode. Before this, Maj Sparrow actually took all the buckles from Tycoon. And so, like I said before, Frogman gives a secret mission to him. He ends up saving some people. He actually transforms in front of the kids that come to his canteen. They see him transform Kayla. And he fulfills the secret mission of saving them and gets the jet and cannon, buckles, right? So he uses those. He fights Rook a little bit and fights some of the other Jamato riders, scores some more points. And that's where the episode ends right there, is we're not sure what's going to happen. So overall, I think it was a really good episode. It's not getting necessarily old with Kayla getting kind of shat on a little bit, but I can see some people not being a big fan of that, unless it's leading to something interesting for his character and for this whole disaster thing and what we're doing with the DGP. I like the DGP is a lot different now with the whole reality TV show type rules and vibes in there. And there was another interesting point which I forgot to bring up, but I'm going to bring up now near the end. At one point during the rounds of the ball game, Ace is talking to Gene, and he's like, why are you in the Jamar area? What are you? And he says something about being a traveler between worlds, like a dimension hopping tourist or something like that. He says, you mentioned before that your mom's name, that you think the navigator Mitsume was your mother, but I looked up your records, and Ukyo, who does he say? Ukyo Mika is the name of your mother. So that doesn't match up. What's going on there? And that's when he kind of smirks at Gene, and Gene smirks back at him. So there's something going on there as far as what Ace is really going on about here with who his mother is. It might be that it's just bait to get him closer to the DGP so he can write a wish that will actually be accepted and get him back to his mother. So he's lying about her being a navigator, so they think that it's a staff and they're interested in looking into it too. I don't know. Again, it's very mysterious, and I think that it's good the way they're doing it because we're getting little bits and pieces, but once we peel back one layer, there's like 30 layers underneath that, and I really like that. Again, the slow burn with this season of its mysteries and what's going on, I think is working really well for the season, and I really, really enjoy it. So all that was really, really good. Character interactions were great. The fights, as few as we got, were pretty good. I like the whole idea of them playing this sports game as part of the round. That's one thing that's really stood out for me with the DGP stuff, is seeing how creative they are with the matches and what the matches are and what the rules are is really, really cool. So overall, a really, really good episode for episode 18. If I had to score it, probably a strong 8 out of 10. It wasn't my favorite, blew my mind. Oh, sorry, so close to my shelf. Blew my mind type, episode, but was still really good in its own right. I think it did a lot of really good things right. I think it did a good job delving into the characters, kind of seeing how they interact with one another, and giving a few more flags on who could possibly be the sus imposter, disaster, or whatever we're going with there. And adding more into the overall mystery of things about what the Jamato's purpose is, what's going on with Michinaga, what's going on with, the GP in general, Ace, all of that. Next week is Michinaga actually being in the game and confronting Ace, telling him he's alive and that the power of the Jamato is strong and blah, blah, blah. And Keiwa basically reaffirming to himself that even if nobody believes in him, he believes in himself and he wants to do the right thing. So I'm assuming he's going to somehow prove everybody wrong and prove his innocence about being the disaster, is what we're going with, maybe. I don't know exactly, but it would make sense if that's what it was. But yeah, like I said, overall, a really strong episode. As far as content this week, it'll be this review, and then also the episode 44 review for Down Brothers, which was fantastic, but we'll get into detail there. I also recorded supposed to be short, didn't say short, video with Frankie about the Hasbro Pulse event that happened this week, talking about the reviews from that, Lightning Collection stuff, Zord Ascension Project, Zap products, the Cosmic Fury news, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers 30th anniversary special news, and things like that. So look for that either here on my channel, or it might be on his, or it might be on the Henshins and Homies podcast channel. I haven't fully decided yet and where he's going to put it at exactly, but we'll get it figured out and we'll get it up there so you guys can kind of see our thoughts about things. So it'll be mainly the content for this week. As far as the podcast, this week we have the wonderful, magnanimous, illustrious Pronghorn Gem as our guest for this week. If you don't know Gem, him and his, I'm sure fiance, but just girlfriend as far as I know for sure, but possibly fiance, mother of his new child that they just had recently, Tavish, Sophia, they are this awesome, cute, adorable little couple who are nuts over the moon about tokusatsu. Lots of different reaction videos, henshin videos, long form videos about concepts and storylines for characters, character arcs, things like that. Super friendly guys, super awesome. You might have seen him collaborate a lot with Hawkelees on his channel with the Tokusatsu World Tour, and a lot of other creators as well. But Gem is an absolute gem. Honestly, his name fits him. He's a super friendly guy. We're going to have him on the channel this week, on the podcast this week, talking about our topic, which will be the daily life of a Tokutuber, creating content, what got us into it, blah, blah, blah. Probably fold in some things there about how becoming a parent may have kind of changed the perspective on that a little bit. And then our second topic, which will be talking about our favorite Sentai Mecha/Robo combinations, single Zords, whatever, that we have in general. So we'll share screen and show you guys the ones we're talking about and why we like them so much. But yeah, that's going to be the show this week. So yeah, again, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching so much, for commenting, subscribing. We're up above 400 subscribers now, 410 last time I checked, so I thank you for that and the support. It's a dream to get to the level you need to get paid for it, but at the same time, I'm just thankful for what I have and happy that you guys want to hear me talk about this stuff. But as always, stay hooked on Heroes. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.